Well, bonjour. So just recently, like a couple days ago, um, the, the university here had a ceremony and a round dance to to kind of encourage the Indigenous students here, and kind of offer up a communal prayer or sentiment for their continued completion in their education. So my Indigenous professor emailed me to tell me about it, and I showed up, and I was there for the first 5 minutes, and the leader, the elder who was giving the ceremony, oh, there's a hole in my medicine bag, oh, this isn't arranged correctly, and he left for like an hour. And usually I'm kind of been realizing that I'm an extremely unfocused person, and I kind of lose interest very quickly. So in the past, when that's kind of happened, usually I've been like, well, I showed up, I tried, I'm out of here. I got other stuff I could be bouncing around between. But anyway, after an hour, the elder comes back and with everyone and sees I'm still there, and he's like, he's making this fuss, and finally everyone sits down, and then he says to me, you gotta move on, basically. It's because which I'm not surprised by now. I've been through this often enough at ceremonies. It's because I'm too spirit and will not wear a skirt. But colonization and religion and everything, Western education has so very effectively kind of cemented gender dichotomy. If it does not have a penis, then it's damn well wearing a skirt. In Indigenous culture and traditional contradictory, because one of the things I'm always hearing about from like elders is we need to bring back the language. The language is how we understood everything and how we did everything, and we need to get back to our original languages. And one of the first things you learn about Indigenous language is that it's unique from Western language, in that it doesn't divide nouns and verbs by gender. There are no gender. I haven't taken that many language courses, but anyway, but it's not a concept, and so it's like, how are you going to, like, all I can wonder is like, how do you think you're going to get back to the language if you're just steadfastly refusing to let go of the privilege that Western gender dichotomy between male, female gives to you, elder. But anyway, I left, and in the past, when that's happened, usually I've just gone straight home and thought, heck with this. But I knew that the round dance was going to happen later at a completely different location. They were moving, and like, usually that is not taken quite as seriously. So I decided, okay, I'll go to the center, huddle in the least drafty corner of it for an hour, wait. And I did get to see some nice dancing and hear some songs that really reminded me of home. So that was good. I'm glad I did that. it's just always going to be like when you're kind of just on the fringes of your culture, like just because of being interracial or because of orientation or whatever. I think it's kind of maybe true for like other people and other cultures. Maybe that you're always just going to have to like be making do with kind of like pieces of it, and so it's like it's always kind of a balance. Is it worth it to like try to get those pieces and try to move forward with them? But just thinking about like this gender dichotomy that's very present in like completely indigenous led efforts now, that's being reproduced. One of the things in decolonization theory and even a lot of other theories is systemic harm. One of the implements of systemic harm is that's not really thought of or considered so much is reproduction. Like people kind of think of systemic harm as like the original action. Like residential school, or colonial insurgent violence, or the imposition of the church on reserves. Okay, we'll stop killing you if you all stay in this sectioned off area, but only so long as we have a church station there that's going to be telling you on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis, you're all godless heathens that are going to burn in hell unless you please us. As soon as the system says, "Oh, our bad," that totally didn't have the effect that our best of intentions, absolutely had when they did that, and stop. Then there's just kind of the rebuilding. Maybe there's some trauma to get over, but it's not as thought of the fact that at this point the behaviors and ethos and kind of the mindset, the kind of the ways of approaching things, the ways of seeing the world have been so set, so conditioned and patterned in the people that they're doing the system's work for them. They're just reproducing what the harms of the system. And I'm in the process of trying to apply for the next level of my education. If touch wood, I successfully graduate this program that I'm currently in. I need to get started on the next one and apply for that. And the application process, and this isn't unique to this university, this is like every application process I've ever encountered, at least since post 2010. There's kind of this, our organization, our institution, whatever, really cares about equal opportunity, and if you're a member of a marginalized, discriminated against, whatever demographic, please tell us all about it. And which sounds really good, although what I felt kind of a additional effect of that is that it affects how you see yourself as a person, or I feel like it has me, like that I see myself first in terms of everything bad that's ever happened to me, everything I'm ashamed of, everything that makes me feel worth less than everyone out there who didn't have to, who that was not done to when they were growing up. They were just allowed to grow up. And I kind of like tried to not fill in that survey because it usually says, it's usually couched in terms of if you feel comfortable, this is optional, this is, you know, and so like I'll just say, I was doing that really successfully through this process, like it, jumping through all of these little kind of portals and forms that pop up and everything, and then just the supplemental information form had like a new text box. Like I'm sure, because this is the same school. So this is the same application website that I was doing just last year. And I'm sure it didn't have this form, the supplemental information form did not have this text box. And it you know, had the pitch, you know, oh, hey, we care about you. We care about, you know, your experiences, and if you're a marginalized demographic and you've been through this, that, and the other, please tell us about it. And I just like broke down and like, my father was an alcoholic and burned in the ground and I have PTSD. What this has made me think of is when you're interracial and trying to hang on to your culture, it's almost like having two sets of like negative ways of viewing things. And so I think it's kind of important to keep some perspective on how that happened and how accurate is it. So, miigwech.